So, you say you're a Christian. Do you do horror themed, like gore type death metal? Oh man, that's some of the most fun. But what about stuff involving misanthropy, nihilism, atheism? That stuff's some of my favorite. Okay, here's the big one: black metal. Yep, you must be a Unitarian. Oh, hi there. My name's Jorge. I grew up in the 80s and I used to love getting into trouble. I was back then and still am a friend of felines. I take my faith very seriously, attending school at a Christian college. I've been a music fan my entire life, only recently finding out that I really enjoy extreme metal, and I want to invite you to join me on my discovery of extreme metal. What is up, folks? Welcome back to A Christian Collects Death Metal. It's your pal Jorge here, back at you with another video. Thanks for stopping by once again. Welcome back. I get asked from time to time, either on my Instagram or my small, humble channel, how I, as a Christian, reconcile being a person of faith and also collecting this type of material. Do I draw a line? Are there albums that I just won't buy, collect, listen to? And I will answer all those questions in today's video. Actually, this is a video that I probably should have done at the start of the channel. But I thought, you know what, we'll handle this on down the road. And I think now is the time to do that. Without further ado, let's get into it. You know, I respect everybody, every artist's right to make whatever art they want. I respect everybody's freedom of speech. I'm not one to judge or trample, your rights underfoot. That's just not my style, and I've always been that way. Even as a kid growing up in what I would consider a conservative Christian household, me or my sister, we were never shielded from secular type music, movies. So we always were watching MTV and stuff. I listened to a ton of secular music, collected. I've been a music fan my entire life, right? Secular, Christian, it doesn't matter. I am a big music fan, just only recently getting into extreme metal. That being said, I've always listened to thrash, even though I know that that's technically an extreme genre. To me, it was just metal, thrash metal. I guess it is extreme or whatever, but that is, I guess, the one exception to where, I've always listened to thrash. Slayer, Megadeth, a lot of that. So, just growing up, like I said, I already exposed to a ton of secular stuff. Horror movies, all of that. And just recently I thought my first exposure to death metal, I think, was in high school, and it was one of my buddies wearing a Cannibal Corpse t-shirt, and I can't remember if, what album, it might have been The Bleeding or something like that. And I remember him letting me check it out and thinking, at the time I was so young, I'm 42, so this is, over 20 years ago, right? I just remember thinking, I don't know, I don't get it. I'll stick to my Tool, right, or Slayer, But just rediscovering, not really rediscovering, but just discovering this genre, these different extreme genres, as the past 3 years, man, has really resonated with me in a big way. And so while I might not give all of it a pass, right? And I wouldn't expect you to think that, that I should do different. I think you would probably think it would be weird if this guy was listening to something like Rotting Christ or, Grand Belial's Key. And those are two bands that, probably not for me, okay? Imagine something that you hold near and dear to your heart. I say at the intro of every video that, I take my faith very seriously. Some people probably see these albums, and from the comments I've seen on other videos, they're like, well, how serious are you? When you're showing something like Satan, Soldier of Fortune. Well, Departure Chandelier to me, Antichrist Rise to Power, Dripping Papal Blood, Satan, Soldier of Fortune. Even though, of course, it's black metal, we all know, but they're thematically speaking, this is Napoleon type material they're singing about. This historical context, and to me that's really interesting. And I don't know of, I don't know of many other examples. Hard pressed to even think of one where another band has done something like that. But just to see, and for one, Napoleon, he very much was at the time probably considered somewhat of an Antichrist type figure. Now he suffered not so great an end. It's not a history lesson here. I'm sure you all know. If not, you could look it up. But yeah, he didn't come to a very glamorous end. And I don't know if Departure Chandelier will go that direction. Maybe they eventually will. I don't know. But this is their material. It to me is more symbolic of this Napoleon figure than anything else. And I think most everybody realizes that. As you could tell, I'm just kind of spitballing. I just, hit play, hit record, and, just on here talking. So, a lot of that stuff gets a pass. Now, like the nihilism, atheistic type stuff like hell, or Mizmor, or fossilization, these artists singing about these misanthropic topics, and what have you, that deeply resonates with me on a personal level, especially MSW's Hell. Probably my favorite extreme metal band, which is like Black and Doom, basically. It really hits hard for me and Mizmor, because a lot of the stuff that these guys are singing about is stuff that, I not only have I dealt with, but feelings that I, kind of surface even to this day. Feelings of doubt, despair, agony, suffering of some level, right? And it really is impactful for me, this type of music. It's almost like a therapeutic outlet in some sense. So a lot of that stuff, and even if you read the book of Psalms in the Bible, these guys are some of these psalmists, these authors, they were deeply troubled. Like, some of those psalms could fit in a hell song. I think actually he has used some biblical lyrics in some of his songs, because they sort of express just the despair, the feelings of abandonment by God and what have you. And so, as someone of faith, I believe that there's always hope, right? There is hope, even when times seem the most grim, right? And even though some of this material, these albums, they are impactful for me, what works for me may not work for someone else. A person of faith or not. To each his own. And who am I to judge a person on what they listen to, right? Take again the example of Graham Belial's Key. Now, these guys, not only they get 2 strikes against them, pretty sure they're NS type stuff, that nationalist type variety. I'm not sure if they are. From what I've seen in some live footage, they're making that certain hand movement that very indicates what they might believe. And I've heard them say some stuff. I don't know. They're not a band that I'm really. Whatever they believe is what they believe. It is what it is. But I can't support something like that. I did buy an album that I didn't realize was NSBM I'll put a screenshot up there right now. Yeah, Kaivum Natur, raw black metal, super raw. I discovered it one night and was like, wow, this has a really interesting sound. And yeah, I found a copy of it, bought it, and then started listening to it. And then I realized after doing some research, post purchase, that, ooh, wow, these guys are really far in a certain direction. So much so that, yeah, I can't support any type of hate, like hate speech or hate beliefs. I can't do that. Material that is just overly satanic, not a fan of. Okay, so I don't know that you would expect any different. Deicide, not a fan. Okay, like I said, there some of the music is great, especially off that one album, Legion, and their self-titled album. But yeah, that's just not something for me. And now Glenn, I'll say this, he might be warming up in his older years. I don't know if you saw the somewhat recent podcast with Garza, where he was telling a story about he's out on the road, his throat was blown out from just this wretched vocals that he does. Just he does have some pipes on him, I'll admit. Yeah, his throat was blown out, and he had a show to do, and he said to Garza, hey, I sent a prayer up. I said, hey, help me to get through this. And he said, I don't know, upstairs, downstairs, I offered up the prayer, and wouldn't you know, I got through the show just fine. So, hey, I say thumbs up to that. But, in general, that's not something that type of material is just, not for me, right? Like I was saying earlier, imagine something you hold near and dear, and to have someone just sort of run it through the ground, so to say, like a band like Rotting Christ or whatever. That stuff, not for me, right? Now, when it comes to like horror type themed, gore material, to me, that most all of it anyway gets a big pass, because to me that's just good fun. This is absolutely hilarious, some of the stuff that these guys are saying. It's almost like watching a horror movie. It's like the audible equivalent of visually watching a horror movie. And so a lot of it, man, this new Gutless album is absolutely insane. I don't know why I didn't pick this up when I first started seeing it. Anyway, yeah, Dark Descent. I absolutely adore these guys. Australian death metal. So, man, these guys know what they're doing. I have the one before this too, Mass Extinction, I showed earlier. Chainsaw Dismemberment, Mortician. I've always heard of this band, and I only recently picked it up from Hell's Headbangers, J-Dog, Bra Bra, right? Sup, devils! So, yeah, I just sort of was a little bit of a blind buy, because, I just had, going off what I heard, that people love Mortician, they've been around, they're like one of the OGs, and so I thought, well, what better album to get than the one that probably they're most famously known for, Chainsaw Dismemberment. And man, I am blown away by that album. It's cut for 45 RPM. It's on a super cool, do I have it here? Super cool splatter. But not all of that stuff. The music, it is so heavy. Oh man, I didn't realize how heavy that those guys were. My speakers, I almost genuinely concerned for my speakers over there. Wow, what a great artist. And I've seen interviews with the guys, and they seem like a bunch of cool guys. And that's the thing, a lot of these bands are down to earth, super cool. Dark Throne, Nocturno, Culto, Fenris, these guys are just super cool, down to earth, dare I say, salt of the earth individuals. And yeah, even Fenris has admitted that a lot of that early stuff is just a troll. I mean, they don't seriously be believing that stuff, right? You know, it's just a troll. It's going against the grain. It's going against the norm. It's pushing boundaries. You know, and I can appreciate that. I can respect that. And I'll say that even though I'm wearing a Transylvanian shirt, my favorite from them is Under a Funeral Moon. So I think at this point I'm starting to ramble. We'll go ahead and wrap things up. That being said, I do enjoy a lot of extreme metal. It has been extremely helpful for me as far as therapeutic and what have you. And there you go. Need I say more? Alright, guys. Jorge, a Christian who collects death metal, signing off. Be blessed.